Hi peeps, thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be discussing the Fuji question, which is what's the difference between the X-T2 and the X-Pro2? I actually started out with the X-Pro2 and since then the X-T2 has been released. At the time I bought the X-Pro2, the X-T2 wasn't really an option, and since it's come out and I've owned it for about 3-4 weeks, I have to say I love it and I wish it was out a year ago. A lot of people struggle with deciding between the two models. Simply because on paper they're very similar. I believe the sensor is the same and the processor is the same. And just to complicate things more, even though when the X-T2 first came out there were more obvious differences because it had like more AF points and it had more customizable tracking system. You can sort of set it so you can do like a leopard going left to right in the straight line, or you can say to the camera there's going to be balls flying all over the place. That had that when it came out and that made it more distinct from the X-Pro2. But since then, because Fuji are the kind of company where they love to give you free shit, they have actually brought that to the X-Pro2, which I have to say it's amazing. Like you invest in the system once and they're upgrading and updating things for you all the time. It's brilliant. It does mean it's harder to decide what to buy though. So the X-Pro2 actually now, as of 6 days ago, has the same AF system and the same customizable tracking system as the X-T2. Oh, I should probably undo that. There are still some differences that are worth noting, and I think I very much have to encourage you guys to go down to the shops and handle both bodies for yourself, because this is not really something where there's a black and white answer. It's very much horses for courses. I have friends who love the X-Pro2 more, and I equally have many friends who love the X-T2 more. For me, the X-T2 has several advantages. Firstly, the flip screen. As a wedding photographer, I'm often trying to shoot like weird angles. I sometimes want to be getting a little low, and then similarly I want to be getting a little high, and sometimes I want to like, I guess, shoot round the corner of a corridor or something. Whatever I need to do, I do appreciate this flip screen, and having come from the Nikon DF and then going on to this and basically never having owned a flip screen before, now I'm like, that's how like everyone else is doing it, jeez. I'm just playing guesswork before. So the flip screen is a huge thing for me. The X-Pro2 you can't do anything with that. The other thing I find that I really love about the X-T2 is these. It might be like appealing to like the inner childhood gamer in me, but I love these little clicky buttons. I hope I haven't broken them now. Basically, they're locking buttons, and they lock your ISO dial and your shutter speed dial. I mostly shoot in auto ISO, but I come out of it when I want to shoot flash. So I love the fact that for most of the day I can kind of lock that one down, and I can use my shutter as I want. And then when I want to go into flash, I just click it, and then I'm off, and I can razz through as much as I want. I just find that the tactileness is just really satisfying. There's not really a practical reason for it beyond that for me. What is a bit more practical is the fact that they've got the drive function attached to this sort of little skinny dial underneath it, and you can switch really easily between single shot mode and the 2 burst modes. Again, as wedding photographers, this is really just way better placed compared to the X-Pro2. When I'm in the church, I'm at the back of it, and I've got to run from the registrar signing to the registrar? You don't sign people, you don't sign registrars. You sign the register, and then sometimes they don't, if they're coming straight out, you have to sort of leg it round to the back of the church, and you want to get the recessional. I can kind of be looking down and sort of legging it away, and then just, I don't really have to look. I can just stick between single shot mode and burst mode, and to me that's really useful. If you try to do that on the X-Pro2, you can't. You've got to look down basically. There's like the drive button up there, and you press that, and then you have to go into the menu, and you press down twice to get into the burst mode you want. Then you've got to press menu OK, and that's like 3 more steps than I need basically. So that's another great advantage to the X-T2. Apart from that, I kind of think it comes down to personal feel. I find that the X-T2 is actually, I think it's a little bit more squat. It's almost like kind of a sort of narrower, and I think it's a little taller, but it's a little bit more rounded around the grip. I find the X-Pro2 is quite flat on the grip, and I think this gives some people like problems with their hands when they're holding onto it. The X-T2 has a little bit of a deeper grip, and for me, I like the fact that, I mean, some people say that it's kind of cramped on the top, but I like the fact that my hands can go all the way around it, and I can kind of access everything a little bit more closely and tightly. I feel like it's very space conservative. That sits really well with me. For me, this is really wasted. Like, I feel like more could have been done with this. And there's things I actively don't like about some of the X-Pro2 dials that have bothered me for a long time. So firstly, the fact that you have to lift this up to change the ISO. If you don't lift this up fully and properly, sometimes you can accidentally change your shutter speed at the same time. And sometimes I end up changing my ISO and I end up in bulb without realizing. Similarly, because of this and the fact that the hot shoe sits flush, if I use a cactus trigger and when I lock it, it actually blocks me from pulling up my ISO dial. So if I want to change my ISO whilst I'm shooting off-camera flash, I have to push it back and then lift this and turn it and then relock it, and it's just a tiny bit of an annoyance. The X-T2 actually has a raised hot shoe, so whatever sort of locking system your trigger or your flash is going to have, it's not going to get in the way. The main reasons people do still love the X-Pro2, people love the retro body feel, but also they love the very unique feature, which is the OVF. That's the optical viewfinder. Basically, it sort of mimics like old school rangefinders, where you're looking through the viewfinder sort of in real time. You don't get to see things like the actual exposure of the shot and things like that you get with the electronic viewfinder. So to me, I mean, that I think it's good that you can see the finished shot. It helps me just check that I'm not sort of out and exposed. I'm over or underexposed. With the OVF, the advantage is you can see things that are about to come into the frame before they come into the frame. So if you're doing like street photography or you shoot in a very documentary style, as people are kind of coming into the frame, you can anticipate their action a bit better and hit the shutter button just that little bit faster. And I can see why that's really useful. And I do shoot documentary, but for me, I couldn't really get used to I never can say this word. The parallax correction, which is basically the distance between the viewfinder and the lens. Just that tiny distance makes all the difference. So the shot that you're actually taking is almost like everything is shuffled a little bit to the left, or I think it's a little bit to the right or something. So I couldn't really get used to that. I found that I was accidentally kind of cutting things off the edge of the frame that I kind of didn't want. Like, my compositions were just a tiny bit skewed. And I'm sure with a bit of practice, I maybe could have done it, but I just didn't have the patience for that, to be honest. So I never used it. I always use the EVF on this. And in that sense, if I'm not using the OVF, I don't have any point in getting the X-Pro2 for that kind of unique advantage. So for me, that means the X-T2 just makes more sense. It's more logical. It's just more practical. It's a shame because it doesn't look as cool. It looks a little bit more like a standard digital SLR, which I know some people really love this sort of thing for. They also love the fact the buttons are a little bit sparse on it. It looks very clean as a body. This almost sort of looks a little bit crazy, but I love crazy, so that's all good. Yeah, I mean, I would kind of say that you still got to go down and try it out, and you got to just handle all the bodies and touch everything and slap it all around, because if you don't, it's really hard to decide. You're not going to know. But one thing that you can kind of take away from this video is the internals. I'm pretty sure Fuji are going to be great to both parties, and they're going to give them both great software. Is it software or firmware? They'll give them great wear, basically. So you don't really need to feel jealous of things that the X-T2 has or the X-Pro has. You just need to think about the actual tangible hardware. If you already own one of these two and you feel like there's anything that you think is an advantage or a disadvantage that I haven't mentioned, please feel free to mention it in the comments. Maybe it's something that I haven't tried in my X-Pro2. Maybe there's some hidden secrets, some hidden magic. I'd love to hear about it, really, before I sell them on eBay. So thanks for watching, guys. If you want to see more gear reviews and more techie vids, please feel free to subscribe and follow me.